It's The Last Stand. And here is your host, Brian Custer.
That's right. It is The Last Stand. We bring you the biggest names in the sport. And when you're talking about MMA and UFC, well, our guest today is one of the greatest, considered one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time. You know, the only Olympic gold medalist in history to win a UFC title, much less capture and hold two of them at the same time. He is none other than Henry Cejudo. Champ, welcome to The Last Stand.
What's up, Brian? Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. But I will say this. I am the greatest of all time. I am the GOAT.
I love it. Listen, how's retirement, though? How's that going?
Retirement is great, man. Fat and happy. I'm retired from fighting, but I'm retired from working, man. I'm doing real estate out here in Arizona and Phoenix. I'm co-hosting Hot Boxing with Uncle Mike. If you see him up here, you probably think I'm weird with all these crazy pillows. But I'm doing that, and then I'm getting ready to have a kid for the first time come mid-November. So I'm on cloud nine, man. I'm just excited.
That's great. Congratulations, man. You certainly got a lot going on. Have you felt the urge, though, to start training and to come back at all?
Not really.
Not even a little bit.
No, dude, there's only a couple of things that'll motivate me, and that's one, going up against a fighter that nobody thinks I could win or beat. There's never been a 3-time division holder that would have 3 belts in the UFC, and this is actually the champ right here. So I'm keeping him close to me, or a bag full of money. You know, something's got to be worth my legacy. It's either me going after another championship or 2, getting a bag full of money, man. Because you know I love money. I love it as much as you do, Brian. What's up?
Yeah, who doesn't like the bag? So Alexander Volkanovski, can he lure you back?
Alexander, the average Volkanovski. He can. He's got a fight coming up September 25th. I still train though. Like don't. I still train. I still do mixed martial arts, but I'm not like in camp or doing anything like crazy heavy. But what I am doing, the time that I do have now, you know, I'm studying. I'm keeping my body fit, so when the time does come, I'm able to, you know, if the meeting if the meeting with me and him does come about with the UFC, you know, it'll happen. But as of right now, man, it's either him or a bag full of money.
So I remember in May of last year when you surprised some folk when you retired after successfully defending your title. Let me ask you this. Why did you feel at that time it was the right time to walk away?
Because I've done everything, Brian. I've done everything. I'm the first and only UFC champion. I mean, I won the Olympics at the age of 21, becoming the youngest in history of the U.S. to win an Olympic gold medal. And then after that, I defended both my belts. You know, I beat the greatest of all time, and Demetrius Johnson, who had the highest streak in UFC history with 11 title defenses. That ended up defeating him. The guy that knocked me out in 2 minutes and 36 seconds in the first meeting that we had, the first fight. And, I beat him. I beat TJ Dillashaw, who was on EPO. I beat Marlon Moraes for my second bout, who was knocking out 3 of his last opponents. And then I beat arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time, in Dominic Cruz. And I just said, man, what's next? I've always argued. I've always wanted more pay with the UFC. I never really got it, so I can't leave my destiny into their hands. So I decided to do this, man, and I'm killing it, man. The real estate is booming right now. You know, obviously Hot Boxing. If you stay tuned, we just had Khabib, Canelo Alvarez, like the biggest names in sports, and that's a line that I'm going to. I'd rather start my life now, man, because we don't get paid as we should. I mean, we get paid and it's good money, but it's not what we deserve, man. We don't have a union like the NFL, like the MLB, like, you know, all these other organizations. So, and just imagine what we do, Brian. Elbows, fists, knees. You know what I'm saying? Like, after you get done with the fight, like, you can't move. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's guys that I have friends personally in the UFC that that are behind, and it's not the UFC's problem, but they're behind on taxes. So now every time they do fight, a lot of that check is actually being paid, or Uncle Sam's actually taking it. So to me, I'm not necessarily complaining, because I do believe like the destiny relies on your hand, but I'm just saying these are the reasons why, And if someday I need to come back because of the finance, then I will come back. But as of right now, man, there's nothing that really it's either it's either a bag full of money, or give me this guy, Alexander the Average.
Well, you certainly, besides the real estate and all the other things that you got going on, the podcast with Mike, you've certainly been active on social media. You trolled TJ Dillashaw after his win and said a rematch would be easy money, an easy money rematch. Talk to me about that.
Well, that would be. I mean, he's the number one contender now in the world, and I got rid of him in 32 seconds, and I don't think nothing would change. I'm just another level above these guys. These guys are playing checkers. I'm playing some other game, dude. I'm playing chess, and it's just there's nothing that really intimidates me with what he has. I've proven it before. I just think people need to learn. People need to know how to fight him. And that's it. I believe I am the kryptonite to any of those guys. And I believe even Aljamain Sterling, who has the belt right now, and Peter Yan, the Russian. I mean, I'm open to all these fights, man. But I'm not doing it for what they're giving me. And that's all there is to it. Like I said, I ain't complaining. I'm really not. I'm just saying, if you guys want me to fight, I'll fight any of them. Anytime, any day. Just give me that cheddar guap.
I love it. You said at the top, you are the GOAT and the greatest fighter of all time. Tell us why. In your opinion, Henry Cejudo, why is he the greatest of all time?
Oh, because numbers don't lie. Anybody, even popularity, like I'm going to give you an example, like Khabib or even Conor McGregor. Let's just say Conor McGregor. Yeah, he's a more popular. He's more. Let's not confuse being popular and credentials. And I'm going to go back to Conor McGregor. Yeah, Conor McGregor had 2 belts too. He never defended both of his belts, nor did he ever win an Olympic gold medal for his country. I did both. I'm the first and only. And a lot of these records will be shattered. And when I say I'm the greatest when I say I'm the greatest of all time, I'm talking about not just in mixed martial arts, but in combat sports. I'm a 2-sport world champion, 3 different weight classes. Bring somebody to me, Brian, that has greater and better credentials than me, and I will bend the knee here live on your show. But they don't exist. It doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just the reality. Whether people want to take my ignorance for what it's worth, or they want to listen to what I'm saying, and I'm speaking because I'm speaking facts. You know what I'm saying? Like this right here, which is ironically, this actually comes number 3 into like my credentials, because number 1 is being an Olympic champion. Number 2 is being inducted and being the youngest Hall of Famer in USA Wrestling history. And then number 3 is getting these 2 belts. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is an Olympic gold medal is just, these belts are just the recipe of success of what I've already done in amateur and Olympic style wrestling. So that's all I gotta say. People may like me, they may love me or hate me, but numbers don't lie, and those are facts. And I hope you guys can take them, eat them, and digest them, and do whatever you want with them.
How much do you think the Olympic gold medal separates you from the rest?
Oh, big time. You can have 3 belts in the UFC. It's the hardest, most competitive thing a human can do, and the world's oldest sport, which is wrestling. This to you guys in the public that watch fighting, like, yeah, this looks more vicious. This looks a little more. How can I say? It's just a little more brutal. But in reality, it's not as competitive you guys think it is, because there's a right hand, there's a knee that can put you out. And in wrestling, it's like it's been matured since the beginning, since 300 years before Christ. When they started the Olympic Games, that it's been developed to its unique form, where it's literally, it's like track and field. It's that millisecond that separates gold and silver. Mixed martial arts, they're going to have a champion every other week, every other weekend. And that's just the difference. And this is what I'm saying, man. A lot of records will be shattered. But when you accumulate what I've done in sports, not just in mixed martial arts and MMA, but in sports, wrestling, all that, that's how the greatest combat athlete of all time has been created. And it's been a goal that I've been set for since I was a 16, 17-year-old kid when I actually wrote my goals down. And this was it, to become not just another fighter, not just an Olympic champ, but to become the greatest combat athlete of all time.
So along those lines, then what did it mean to you when Khabib was there and he said, and listen, he's really, let's be honest, the only fighter in UFC history to retire a #1 ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the world, perfect 29-0 record, defended his lightweight championship for a third time. But when he said, your resume is a level above mine, what did that mean to you?
Oh, it means he ain't lying. Honestly, Brian, I'm being straight up with you.
I love it.
Because he ain't lying. Like, it's not like I'm honored. I know, you know what I'm saying? And Khabib knows, like, you know what I mean? It's just, people just don't like me. That's part of the reason why I even started this whole persona is because, especially for the lighter guys, is we don't get the attraction that we should be getting. Somebody that really changed the sport was for boxing for the lighter guys was Oscar De La Hoya. I mean, look what he was able to do in the mid '90s to all the way to the 2000s. With his with him being a lighter guy and being able to take those guys to the top. It wasn't just heavyweight base. So, I started the character for that same reason, whether people like it or not, because we got to bring attention and create storylines. So whenever it is that we fight, or whoever someday tends to beat me or does beat me, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like you pass the torch. So in reality, I'm actually being the bad guy, but in reality, I'm actually the good guy. If that makes any sense.
Okay. I like it.
Am I crazy, Brian? Am I crazy? I'm just another.
Well, listen,
I'm
you
just
certainly created a stir when you had that Twitter post on Simone Biles saying that she needed to check herself after withdrawing from competition there at the Olympics, and said she needed some tough love. So explain that. It gives you the opportunity to explain what you were.
She needs to check herself before she racks herself. That's not the Olympic Games is so prestigious. It's not. Let's not confuse mental health with the twists or whatever that was. The pressure that comes with you being a champion, a returning Olympic champion. And I watched the Olympic trials in gymnastics. And that's all these damn commentators say. Oh my God, the GOAT. Oh my God, even when she's off, she's a GOAT. Oh my God, even under her worst day, she dominates the competition. Like, if you buy into what people, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should never really buy into what you're hearing. You should you should continue to keep exceeding and excelling and trying to become better. But I think that's partially what happened with Simone Biles. She got caught up into her own hype. And I tell you this as an Olympic champion. I tell you this, that's somebody that feels pressure, just like she has to be alone on the gymnastics floor. Man, I'm alone. I'm one-on-one with somebody else. What I'm saying is I deal with the same pressures, but going to the Olympic Games and saying that's mental health, that's your manager talking this, and then all of a sudden NBC makes it seem like she's heroic. Oh my gosh, she's bringing out the subject. Guys, this is reality. This is what happens. Talk to Michael Jordan. Talk to Michael Johnson. Talk to some of the great. Talk to Michael Phelps, a guy that had to literally go to the Olympic Games and win 8 gold medals when he had only 8 tries to do it, and he did it. It's part of the game, man. The thing is these social media kids. That's what I feel like she's a social media kid. She's a social media brat that just couldn't take the pressure, so she decided to say, "I'm out." And that's it. And I feel like me, and again, if this was me or my little sister, anybody, I would tell them the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you do need a little bit of tough love. Am I wrong here, Brian? Am I gonna let the next 5? She waited 5 years for this moment, and now she wants to say it's mental health, but yet she's on her Instagram taking selfies, and and going to see her boyfriend one day after the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? With a big old cheesy smile. I don't know, Brian. You know what I'm saying? The truth hurts. You tell me.
Listen,
what's your take on that?
It's certainly a hot take, and not one that most athletes in the media certainly had. In retrospect, would you still say the same thing?
Of course, man. I'm not changing my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not, and I'm a big fan of hers. Let me just say that again. Not even because I'm in a minority. I'm just a big fan of winners, and when I see things like that, I'm just like, man, you just could have, I really had you on a pedestal, on you being the GOAT. But once I saw that, I was like, no, there's breaking points in there. You know what I'm saying? Which we all have them, physically. But when you allow it to really take over you, it's like, man, that's just different. But I was also happy too that Suni Lee had a chance to win the all around, and I think that was pretty cool for her. But at the same time, it was like, I guarantee you, she probably doesn't feel like she's the best in the world, because in order for you to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I feel like Simone kind of took that a little bit away from her, because as a competitor, man, you want to make sure and you want to say, I beat all of you on your best or worst day, but I became the best in the world at this day that we had planned 4-5 years ago. You know what I mean? That's the importance of the Olympic Games. This is what I'm telling you. This stuff right here, this stuff is easy in comparison to the greatest competition on earth, which is the Olympics.
Let's talk about the UFC.
Stop me when I lie, Brian. Stop me when I lie, Brian.
Who is the face of the UFC?
Who is the face of the UFC? Honestly, it's Dana White. It's Dana White, because he's the one that's on camera. He's the one that's on TV. It's not even the fighters. You know what I'm saying? It's him, and then I would say Conor McGregor's on a 4-fight losing streak, because it's all about the money. The UFC is not... The reason why they put mixed martial arts in there, it's because they wanted to sell this to the Nevada State Athletic Commission, to the Athletic Commission in general. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, man, you're going out there, you're actually fighting. You know what I'm saying? But if I had to really categorize it to who's the face of it, it's Dana White. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then it's the rest of the fighters. And I would say it's Conor McGregor and all these guys that are probably the second best, or even like a Poirier, because these are the guys that they tend to market. I feel like the UFC now is kind of going more of, they're picking like the bigger names, and they're starting to build their big pay-per-view events around them, rather than building everybody up and giving the whole stories, which they do a good job. But you can't focus on the dude that breaks his ankle, that gets stopped in first, second round like he did his last 2 fights, but he still tends to be the star. So what I'm trying to say is, mixed martial arts, it's not an MMA, a mixed martial arts company. It's a marketing company. And if you can sell tickets, that's exactly what it is. And that's the difference. That's probably why I'm not the damn face, to be honest with you, because I've done some extraordinary things. But it's the same reason, man. It's like, I don't know. I tapped into it, but then I also feel like I left a little early. But I want to start my life, man. Brian, I've been doing this since I was 11 years old at the highest levels. I won everything there is, everything that there ever is to win, and I just wanted to be compensated. That's it.
What do you think is the biggest difference between the UFC and Bellator?
The marketing. The marketing is the biggest difference. The marketing of what the UFC does and where Bellator stands. I believe now Bellator with Showtime is doing an amazing job. I went to their last event, and man, they're doing a great job. I love the tournament style format where you know what I mean, when you know who you're fighting. And if you don't fight, then you're out, and the champion's going through the tournament too. I think it's cool because it gives people something to follow, where McGregor just won't get the title shot with the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Because McGregor said your mom's fat, or your mom's black, or your mom's Mexican, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You're going to find who the best is, man. And I love that, because it's about the pure competition of winning.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And listen, AJ McKee and Pitbull, so yeah, they got some really good fighters too as well over there. You talked about it at the beginning, and you hear from a lot of fighters. You hear from John Jones. Obviously Conor has said it. You've talked about it. Fighters have complained about the UFC pay. Is it disrespectful?
Is it disrespectful?
I guess disrespectful in the amount that they have been paying you guys.
Yeah, but this is the thing, though, too, Brian. Is you know what happened with the UFC? They sold the company. I love mixed martial arts. They oversold the company, which allowed them to put them in debt. And the only way for them to make their money back or to be able to be on time, because they're upside down, dude. What is it, 4.3 billion? I'm sorry. 4.3 billion they sold the company for. It's not worth 4.3 billion. In my eyes, they'd be happy to get 600-700 million, and I mean that, because the fighters, it's not like the NBA, man. With their team, because we're all individualized. But if we were to come together, it would be a little bit different. It's not worth that type of money. So now what happened is they put themselves in debt, and who's going to take the back seat? The workers, which is the fighters. Am I crazy, Brian?
No.
Does the truth hurt?
Put this in perspective for us. Give me a story, Henry, where you really had to go through something just to make it into the Octagon, and give us some insight on how much you got paid for that fight.
Oh man, no. Honestly, Brian, I don't want to get into that stuff and into the numbers, because this is the thing, though, too, is I still got to maintain that relationship with them, regardless of what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the numbers side with me and Dana, don't get me wrong, they're paying me, and they're paying me good, but I don't want good. I'm not just a good fighter. I'm a great fighter, and a great fighter deserves to be paid great, and that's all there is to it. That's a conversation between me and Dana White. And whenever it does flourish, and if it does flourish or if it doesn't, man, I still have to give credit to him, because he did take the chance on this $2 million company that was in debt, that he had to revive with him and the Fertitta brothers, that he did it. So at the same time, it's almost like I don't necessarily completely want to bite the hand that's feeding me, because they're fair, but they can't be fair with somebody that's great. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. What do you think is more dangerous, boxing or MMA?
Boxing.
Tell me why.
Boxing because of the glove. Boxing because of the glove. And the glove makes the biggest difference, because the UFC glove is about 4 ounces. And if somebody hits you clean, they will knock you out. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody literally it just lights out. But with the boxing glove, is you're getting these guys that have an 8 to 10 ounce glove with the wrapping of the glove. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the glove isn't to protect somebody's face, it's to protect your hands. And the fact that the glove is heavier, and you're getting these professionals that know how to hit correctly, like the MMA guys, that's more vicious. And when you're only hitting the waist all the way up, it's a lot more dangerous, because there's just one target, and they're all minuscule setups to get to the head, to get to your chin, and to continually do it, and hitting you to the body and to the head. And you ain't talking about the time, too. You're telling me you're going to box for 12 rounds against the best in the world, against a Manny Pacquiao, and you think you're going to come out normal? Was it last year or a couple years ago? There's 4 or 5 deaths in boxing.
Right.
Like, man, you got to respect that game. Boxing doesn't bring that spectacle that the UFC brings, but what it does bring, man, it brings that pure competition of, from the waist up, we're going to hurt each other, and we're going to hurt each other bad. And with that big glove that people can kind of somewhat take and absorb, especially as the rounds go longer and your body becomes more heated and you can take a little more punches, by the time you're out of that fight, you're a different person, and that's boxing for you.
What do you think about some of these fighters, MMA fighters, that have gotten into the sport now? Tyron Woodley's getting ready to fight in it. Conor has been there. What do you think about him?
Tyron Woodley's about to get beat up by Jake Paul.
Really? You think so, huh?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna bet some money on that. I typically don't bet on fights, because fighters and fights are predictable. But Jake Paul, he's a former wrestler, man. That comes from a wrestling background, and he's around world champion boxers, and I think that's something to be said. That's something to be said because he's around great people. He's around people that have been there and done that. Tyron Woodley's been on a 4-fight losing streak. He's accustomed to that little MMA glove, which that little MMA glove, if they're to fight with little MMA gloves, I may give the chance to Tyron Woodley, but because they're going boxing gloves, it's going to come down to more competition, and it's going to be derived in an 8-round fight. That's the hard stuff. And Tyron Woodley, his hands are, he focuses on that right hand, and the glove's going to change. It's just going to be different, man. Jake Paul's going to beat him. If he doesn't knock him out, he's going to beat him by decision because it is a different game. And I boxed before. I've done amateur boxing. Obviously, I wrestled. I've done mixed martial arts. And I can tell you that any average guy with any average hands as a boxer, if you just to box with the UFC guy, you will take him out. And for that reason, Jake Paul, the dirtbags that end up winning.
So what do you think about these guys getting into boxing? Could you see yourself boxing eventually?
Oh, of course, man. There's that Ryan Garcia fight that we've been kind of sizzling a little bit. I think we'll end up fighting. That's if I get the approval from Dana White, if he allows me to. This is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I don't want to bite the bite. I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me. If it does tend to flourish, there's Vasily Lomachenko. There's a lot of guys that want to hurt me. And I'm up for it. But let's put some zeros behind it. What's up?
Okay. You ready here, champ? Because we've come to the final segment of the show. We call it The Last Stand. I'm asking you a series of questions. Henry, you just give me the first thing that comes to your mind. You ready, champ?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Biggest accomplishment you think, or bigger accomplishment? Is it winning the Olympic gold medal or being a champ in UFC?
And winning the Olympic Games, man. It don't get purer than that.
Who is the most dominant UFC champion? Is it you or Khabib?
The most dominant, I'd have to give it to Khabib. But he ain't. But I'd have to give it to Khabib. But it is a bit boring because he will take you down. He will beat you up. And I have better grappling than Khabib, but he can control people and hurt people on bottom. But you guys tend to like that.
Oh, I like it.
I'm knocking you out of my feet.
Do you really believe that Gable Stevenson can beat John Jones or Francis Ngannou?
I do. I do believe that Gable Stevenson can beat both of them. I initially said 2 years, but it's actually going to be more like 4 or 5 years because he really needs to develop his hands, and he has the credentials. When you have wrestling and it's not necessarily even just the wrestling, the sport, but it's what it teaches you. And I do believe that Gable Stevenson, in the next 4 to 5 years, he can compete against a guy like John Jones or even Francis Ngannou.
First thing that comes to your mind when I say Chael Sonnen?
Oh, Chael Sonnen, man. Creep. Can I say creep? Uncle Creepy.
And last but not least, by this time next year, will Henry Cejudo, the champ, be back as an active fighter in the UFC?
You guys stay tuned and watch, man. I am a bag full of surprises.
Yeah, you certainly do. And hey, listen, there's a number of people who consider you the GOAT. I see the guns are still there. I appreciate you, man, spending some time with us here on The Last Stand.
For sure. I appreciate you, Brian. Anytime, dude, anywhere, and tell your people to get their shit together.
I love it. I love it. Folks, that's what we do at The Last Stand. We bring you the biggest names in the sport and none bigger than the man right there, Henry Cejudo. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.